Letters from Christopher, Chapter 4. Love is giving someone the ability to destroy you, but trusting them not to. Several stories were highlighted in the media about Shanann and Christopher's family problems. When Shanann and Christopher got engaged, they decided to have an engagement party. During the planning of the party, Christopher's sister Jamie offered to help. Shanann had a list of things that needed to be done. Jamie offered to address and mail out the invitation. On the day of the party, most of the friends did not come. The next day, Shanann made some phone calls and found out her friends never got an invitation. So Jamie was accused of never mailing them out. Jamie said she sent them. Shanann had asked Jamie to be a bridesmaid in her wedding and for Jamie's daughter to be a flower girl. The week right before the wedding, Shanann made an appointment for all the girls in the wedding party to have their nails done at a spa. I was told of Jamie's work hours and she was unable to meet them at the spa. She said Shanann told her that both Jamie and her daughter need not be in the wedding, but the dresses were bought, the money had been spent. So, because of this, Cindy, Ronnie, Jamie, and the rest of her family did not attend the wedding. Although they finally moved past it, this is a reason for hurt that never completely healed. Cindy says, however, they have always regretted not going to the wedding. Christopher said he forgave his parents, but it deeply hurt him and Shanann that they chose not to come. One of the big things that happened just before the murders was a huge falling out between Shanann and her in-laws. During her 5 weeks visit to North Carolina, Shanann's plan was to spend the weekends at the Watts. The second weekend in, she was there on Saturday when the ice cream debacle, what Cindy calls Nutgate, took place. Sandy Ruzick, Shanann's mom, has refused to comment. Cindy Watts wanted to tell her side of the story, what Cindy calls the Nutgate. During the investigation, Cindy was blamed for trying to kill Celeste. According to Cindy and Jamie, Shanann was at the Watts' house during her 5-week visit. This happened on a weekend that Shanann was at the Watts' house during her 5-week visit. The only people there were Cindy, Shanann, Ronnie, and all of the grandkids. Jamie had dropped her kids off on her way to work, so she was not there when the ice cream came out. Yet the story was told that she was not only there, but that she also came into the house and put out a bowl of nuts. Cindy and Jamie say this did not happen. Ronnie was there also and said he was caught off guard with how the argument escalated. The story Shanann's mother has told is not exactly the way Cindy and Jamie tell it. The oldest granddaughter, who was 11 years old, went into the kitchen and got ice cream from the freezer, which Cindy says was one of the small vanilla cups. They had to be careful about ice cream because of the factory it was made in. 2-year-old Celeste was allergic to tree nuts, which are almonds, pistachios, pecans, walnuts, etc. It was not a peanut allergy. Peanuts grow in the ground, so that is not one of the nuts she's allergic to. Christopher said she had had allergic reactions. Celeste had had from tree nuts were rashes, breathing problems. Also, each reaction can get worse. With her already having breathing problems, I'm sure Shanann was afraid of her having a bad reaction where she would have problems breathing. Any mother would be careful about any allergy her child has. The granddaughter went to the freezer and took out an ice cream cup. She sat next to Celeste, was eating ice cream, and was not made to move while eating it. The tree nut allergy was something newer, and Christopher said he doesn't think Cindy really believed she had an allergy to nuts. Cindy said she did not know her granddaughter had gotten the ice cream out. This made Shanann angry, and she did not hide her feelings. Christopher's nephew, who was 10, told Bella that they would probably not ever get to see them again. That was a prophetic word, as that was the last time any of them saw Bella, Celeste, or Shanann. Things had been so bad for so long between the Watts and Shanann that Cindy asked her to leave until she could calm down. Cindy then took her daughter's children and left the house until everything had a chance to deflate. Something Shanann had only just realized and was willing to fix was the breach between her and her in-laws. She could see how seriously Christopher was taking it. She sensed a difference in the way Christopher was treating her for the first time since she knew him. She shared with a friend maybe she had gone too far this time, and he was tired of having her pit him against his family. He knew his parents weren't perfect, but he didn't like the demands Shanann put on him to not see his family or not to allow his kids to see their grandparents. He didn't like what Shanann had done to him in making him shut his parents out of their lives. He said she had flat out told him he could not call or see his parents again. In the past, this may have worked, but now Christopher was simmering and getting up the nerve he needed. Christopher did cleave to his wife during the times of trouble between Shanann and his parents. After a while, he had missed his family and he had longed for the things to be good between them. He didn't see any real reason they couldn't all be family. Cindy and her daughter-in-law did not get along well, but that certainly does not make her a murderer. Not all personalities get along, and that's okay. Cindy says she did not interfere in their marriage. Christopher said he knew from the beginning that Shanann did not care for his mother and his sister, and they did not care for her. He says he let it go on for too long. He should have confronted it, but never did. He always sided with Shanann because he knew if he didn't, there would have been trouble. On a daily basis, the Watts family deals with people who hate them for the crime their son committed. Thinking their daughter-in-law had just killed their granddaughters, of course, they were not happy with her. At that time, all the information they had was what Christopher had told them of how he killed Shanann because he caught her killing the girls. That is what Christopher told his dad and the FBI agent at the time of the confession. What people don't realize, this is the last time they saw their son or talked to him until the day before the sentencing. When they saw him, the only thing he would tell them is he was pleading guilty for a reason. Going into the sentencing, they still had no idea as to what to expect had happened. Ronnie and Cindy did not know what to think. Their heads were spinning. Just as Shanann's parents knew she wasn't capable of hurting her girls, the Watts family questioned how Christopher could be capable of this since he had never shown any sign of violence. The Watts did not go to the funeral, and this was huge for them. Ronnie made a phone call to one of the family members and was told it might be best if they did not come. They were told the media was everywhere, and if they came down, most definitely they would have been attacked by them. This was not told to them in a malicious way, just in a way to watch out for everyone. The Watts say they did not want to make a scene or make it harder on anyone, so they made the decision to stay away. However, they did have a service of their own with friends and family. They had their pastor say some words and they sang Amazing Grace. It was beautiful and very sad at the same time. What did it take not to go to the funeral and graveside of their daughter-in-law and 3 grandchildren? It was heartbreaking for all of their family. They had no way to tell them goodbye. It's unfortunate that the last visit with Shanann and their granddaughters ended in discord. No one can possibly know how hard this would be or how one might feel, but it would have been nice if the two families could have put their differences aside and held each other up during this time. It was totally heartbreaking for all. There are many things between the Watts and Shanann I have chosen not to write about. Some of the things that have been said about Shanann are cruel and filled with hate. Christopher agreed with me not to say these things about her. She does not deserve it. It is very unfortunate because they are both good families. They both were hurt and had the most unimaginable loss when they could have been a strength for each other. Hopefully, true and complete healing will come between them someday. They loved and adored those grandchildren, and there are hundreds of pictures and videos that prove it. They were very blessed for what time they had with them. Those baby girls are their shared bond, and hopefully someday they will be able to look past their hurt just enough to help each other try to heal and get past this. Chapter 5. All the money. One of the deep secrets in life is all that is worth doing is what we do for others. It is hard when writing a true crime story because you only get one side of the story. These accounts are what I have been told. Please keep in mind, Shanann is not here to defend herself. I have been told Shanann controlled all the money that came into the house. Christopher says he recalls a time when he sold a four-wheeler and didn't get enough money to pay off the loan. Shanann never trusted him thereafter, and she never allowed him to have anything to do with the money after that. It's unclear to him if that's the real reason she didn't want him to touch the money, or if it were because she didn't want to answer for what she spent. The girls were enrolled in a $25,000 a year school. Shanann liked to shop, sometimes spending most of her check without having paid on her obligations. Christopher said they could not afford this. She would sometimes turn around and put a lot of money that she made back into Thrive. She also had Christopher withdraw $10,000 from his 401k to catch up the house payments they were behind on. Christopher believes that's what she did with it, but does not know for sure. He said she was the kind that could always find a way. The way things were going, they may have lost their house before they could sell it. According to Christopher, she controlled everything in the house. This was a pressure point for Christopher. He worked all the time, but they were constantly having money issues. They were living way beyond their means and way beyond their needs. They had filed for bankruptcy once and were headed that way again. He would not talk to Shanann about how bad things were financially and how he didn't want the household money to be abused in that way, and he felt enough money was coming in to afford the house. He feels now they needed to find a more affordable school. Since Shanann worked from home, maybe daycare and school should not have been a full-time option. The girls should have not been taken to daycare from 7:15 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. 5 days a week. Celeste was not even 3, and Bella was just 4. There is more to the story, but Christopher thinks much was kept from him. The girls going to a $500 a week daycare was something Christopher was not allowed an opinion on. He now knows there were many things with their finances that were kept from him. These are some of the truths that have been hard for the Watts family to understand. The girls' records were sealed by Christopher right after the sentencing. Even though he does not remember signing them, no one seems to know why. He says it was a stipulation for his plea agreement. He was not clear-headed, and he says he still does not remember everything that happened during that time. Money could have been managed better, and he knew this. Shanann was used to all the best money would buy. She did make great money. She had to put a lot back into her business. Money became a big stressor for Shanann also. However, they also had a lot of medical bills and ongoing medicines to buy, so this affected their budget hugely. Christopher realized he didn't take charge of his family, but he says that's what worked for them. By his own admission, he knows that Shanann wanted a husband to take charge, but he didn't have the confidence to do that. Christopher is the kind of person that has always just done whatever he has been told to do. Also, by his own admission, he had a hard time telling the people who worked under him to do something. He found it easier to do it himself. He felt emasculated and found it hard to take the lead. According to research, a man who has been emasculated concedes leadership decisions to his wife. Men that cannot make firm decisions without second-guessing themselves run from relationship conflict. Emasculation is said to reach what is called malignancy level, hence resulting to even killing, if something devastating or bad happens to him. Many a man turned to alcohol. This alone can build resentment to the point it is not talked about and can come out in a dangerous way. It's not known if Shanann knew Christopher felt emasculated, if in fact he was. Yet, if he was such a quiet personality, how would Shanann know he was a simmering pot? Obviously, he was afraid of her. That's why, up until even the end, he did not tell her about Nikki. Under normal circumstances, a man would tell his wife it is over and he is divorcing her and moving on. It has happened a million of times. Maybe he thought over it, and in actuality, Shannon's reaction after the initial shock may not have been so bad. But even if it was, why couldn't he handle it? He never learned coping skills or how to be assertive. When asked about why he never spoke up, he said he didn't realize at the time it was so bad. It's just what worked for them as a family. It was their normal until he started realizing it was just not working for him. He realizes now it was building up and getting ready to implode. Yet, there were many times she was going off on him that he could purposely not say anything but then smile to himself as he thought about how he really felt. He knew better than argue unless he wanted to go through a big ordeal. The last time he challenged her during an argument and tried to hold his own, she got very angry and screamed, "Get out of my house," he says. She kicked him out and wouldn't let him come home overnight even. He said he had to do some huge please forgive me's to get back in the next day. He says that gave him a fear of going up against her. So he decided after that he would not ever argue with her again. Just take it. He is quick to say, though, it is not like this all the time. Christopher shared that one time when the sign of trouble was everywhere, neither of them stopped to notice what was happening to them. They allowed their relationship to suffer and never stopped long enough to fix it. There were many more happy times than sad. He dwells on those happy times now, as he longs just to be with his family one more time. He says he loves Shanann, Bella, and Celeste, and he knows he would have loved Nico too. He only has himself to blame. He longs to be able to hold Shanann and the girls. He craves to feel their touch, and when he would so love the chance to hold his baby boy. Shanann had told her friends before that she wanted a man who could make decisions and be more assertive, but this was not Christopher. Yet their problems are problems that many families face. Until just before the murders, they weren't so bad that working on them and concentrating on making their lives better wouldn't have worked. Chapter 6. Christopher has not told the FBI, but as soon as Nikki told him she wanted to have his first with him, he started planning how he could kill the baby so he could give Nikki their first together. How very sad that Shanann was excited to be able to give him a son. He was planning to take that baby's life before he had a chance to come into the world. This baby boy was the son he always told Shanann he wanted. This would perfectly complete their little family. Shanann had thought if Christopher could get excited about their baby boy, then he might start feeling differently about their family. At first, Nikki had told Christopher that she did not even want children, yet telling him she wanted to give him his first son was her way of keeping him. He was not wanting to get rid of Shanann's baby because he thought it was not his. He wanted to get rid of the baby because it was his and he did not want it. However, Shanann was the only one fighting for the marriage, all the while he was trying to destroy it. He would not give his marriage another chance, would not even talk to her about their problems, would not be honest with her. He let her be the only one in the marriage that had a desire to save it. Christopher did not one time try to talk to Shanann about their problems until the morning he killed her. He just couldn't confront her. As soon as the girls all left for North Carolina, he had a new sense of freedom. Nikki latched on very quickly, even though he was married with 2 girls. She wanted him to stay with her every night. She had not yet included Christopher in her friends' circle, but was ready to right before the murders. In the past, she had been in an abusive relationship, so when it was over, she deleted most of her social media. Her mail went to her father's house like she was hiding from someone. She took medications but never told Christopher why. He suspected she was bipolar. She was in Christopher and Shanann's house twice, July 4th and again on July 14th. Christopher was off work on July 4th, and he stayed the night at Nikki's and slept in late the next morning. When he was up and checked his phone, there were many missed calls from Shanann. He knew she was going to be really mad. He went outside to call her, and she was beyond pissed, absolutely furious. He decided to just go home for the rest of the day. He went back inside to let Nikki know. Now it was Nikki's turn to be angry. Weren't they going to do something later on that day? He told her no. He was just going home for the day. For the first time, she realized that she was not number one in his life. Christopher must be having second thoughts. Had she left him alone for the rest of the day, he might have turned around. Later on, she showed up at Christopher's house with the ruse she wanted to help him build a healthy protein diet plan. She didn't look around the house much that day. She felt she couldn't allow him to be alone. She knew if he was alone in that house with all the memories and pictures of his family, that he might decide his life was too good to give up. Or maybe there was love deep inside him for his family that could be brought to the surface again. On July 14th, Christopher and Nikki were headed home from Shelby Museum and decided to stop at his house before getting something to eat. There, Nikki played with Dieter, the family dog, who led her upstairs. This time, she could see what things were like in their life and all the pictures of Bella, Celeste, and Shanann. She came downstairs with the most frozen, dazed, confused look on her face. She realized for the first time the life he was living and the family that would be broken to pieces because of their affair. He saw the look of despair, and he put his arms around her, leading her to the couch. As they lay on the couch, she said to him, "You have all this, more than most people, and we are doing this? Why are we doing this? Are you willing to give all this up? Is your relationship with your wife that bad?" He told her that he and Shanann had drifted apart and they didn't talk anymore. He was not even sure in his own head that he believed that fully, yet he could see the deficit in their relationship. He then told her that before he started seeing her, he and Shanann had actually decided to have a baby. More signs that he was having second thoughts. She freaked completely out, started yelling, "What the fuck are you doing with me then?" He saw something in her he had not seen before that made him take notice. Your relationship couldn't be that bad if you and Shanann were trying to conceive. Even though he tried to get her to stay and talk with him, she left the house and went out to her truck and sat there for 30 minutes texting him. Whatever he said to her as he was texting back to her work. In his words, he talked her off the cliff. She wanted him to make her feel better and to come after her, but he didn't. As he thought about it, he realized this is one of the things that turned him on about her. She allowed him to calm her down by telling her he did not want another baby with Shanann. He withheld the information that Shanann was already pregnant. He told her the plans to have another baby were before he had met her. It had been a way to possibly save their marriage, but it wasn't working. I really don't think Shanann was looking at it that way. I believe she was thinking they decided together to have a third baby, and they were blessed it was going to be a boy. Nikki came back into the house. She told him he was the only man she ever met that tried to fix problems, smooth it over, and talk things through. He thought, ironically, he never tried to do that with Shanann. He knew she probably wouldn't have listened to him, yet he realized he didn't give her a chance. They never really talked about things. He had always just let her make the decisions. Nikki asked him then to come over to her house like nothing had ever happened. They went back to her house and made love. She tried for it to be hot, passionate love and did some of the things that would normally turn him on, but this time their lovemaking felt different. He felt the guilt rush back to him, and he really didn't want to be there. When they made love, Nikki even felt it was different. They normally would have had sex 3 to 4 times a day. After that happened, she said their sex was down to only 1 to 2 times a day. When they were finished making love, she told him, "I got mad because I thought I could give you your first son. When you told me you and your wife were trying to have a baby, that made me really mad, and it scared me." That made him much more confident in his relationship with her. After all that, Christopher and Nikki went to the Bendemeer races on July 21st and camping in the mountains on July 28th and 29th.